Good morning and welcome everyone to today's training, AutoCrib Software.net Navigation and Basics. My name is Vivian Lee and I will be your presenter today, and also with me is Jesse Van Dyne from the Professional Services Department, and he will be assisting with the questions at the end of today's session. You've all joined this webinar in listen-only mode, which means that everyone is muted. You will have time at the end of today's session to submit your questions through the question tool. We are also going to upload a recording of today's webinar so that you may review it again at any time. You may access it on the portal. So if you log into the AutoCrib support portal, and under the Pro Services menu bar, click on Webinars. And here you will find links to all of our past webinars under the Past Webinars heading. And we will post a link to today's webinar down below the Setting Up Access Controls webinar link. So in today's webinar, we will be going over navigating the AutoCrib.net software. We're going to add suppliers, employees, and assign items to bins. And again, at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So again, you'll be able to use your questions tool to type in your questions, and we will review them and try to answer them. So we'll start by logging into your .NET account, and you would do that by first opening an Internet Explorer web browser. So once you open up your web browser, you will be prompted to enter in your user ID and password to log into your .NET account. So we do recommend that everyone that uses the .NET account has their own login ID and password that is tied to their name. That way it records in the transactions history. So if you ever have a question on who created a PO or who made changes to any of the modules in .NET, you will be able to see that login ID that had made that change. We will have a future webinar that will show you how to create these additional security users. But just to point it out real quickly, you would go under Tools and then Security, and here you can create additional AutoCrib.net login users and passwords. So we will have a future webinar that will show you how to create the securities and how to create groups to tie into that security user. Actually, I did forget to assign myself to a group, so I would need to log back in with a different login. Just 1 second here. So I am going to use the uadmin account to log in for now. So because I forgot to assign my security user a group, I actually don't have access to anything on .NET. So I'm going to go ahead and assign my group with all the privileges. Now I can use my user ID. So I apologize for that. And again, in the future webinar, we will show you how to create those groups and security users. So once you log in, you will see a couple of links here on the left side. The load dashboard will load the data here into your dashboard so you can have a quick view of stock outs, any items that are below the reorder points, any overdue POs in the system, any slow-moving inventory. Here you can see the 30 days top 10 item usage by quantity and by value by toggling these radio buttons at the bottom, and the 30-day usage spike for the items. And then at the bottom, if you have any polling machines that are tied to the AutoCrib.net, polling machines examples would be Elevens or RDU machines, the coil vending machines. Those all use the AutoPoll software. So if there is an issue with the polling or the AutoPoll software, you can click on that link and it will tell you what computer and which crib is down or is not polling. And then you have your sync monitor, and this shows you whether or not your account is currently syncing. So typically you would want this circle to be green to show that it is syncing successfully. And if there is a problem and it shows up in red, you would want to call AutoCrib technical support and follow up on why the sync is down or is not syncing your data. So that is all the information that you can see here on the dashboard. Again, you would have to click the Load Dashboard link in order to view all this data. Also on the top right, there is a little question mark icon, and that's linked to the help manual, the .NET help manual. So you can click on it at any time and review the AutoCrib.net user guide. And there's content with all of these are links. So if you are looking at the bins, for example, it gives you a definition of all the different fields in the bin module. So you have a link to that help manual from, again, from the main, from the home page. So here on the top are your different menus, and the home menu just takes you back to this page. So if you're in any module, from any module, you can quickly access the home page by clicking the home menu button. Other menu buttons that we have on here are the cribs, inventory, database, transactions, purchasing, reports, and tools. These are all your menu options that are laid up on the top of your screen. And then on the top right corner is your log out button. So whenever you have completed your work on AutoCrib.net, it is recommended that you click the log out link, and that will take you back to the login page. If you don't click the logout link, this page will automatically time out after 20 minutes. So when you click on any of these menu bars, you will see additional options or modules on the left-hand side. So when I click on Cribs, now I have access to the Tool Cribs module, the Bins module, and the Access module. And again, the Home button just takes you back to your home page. And then the Inventory menu contains modules that store, update, and provide detailed information on your items. And this is where you can go and set up your categorization. So if I click on Inventory menu, here are additional modules that have access to. The Database menu stores the information, settings, and budget limits for employees, for departments, jobs, machines, parts, and reasons. Then the Transaction menu has access to the Issues module, returns, stock transfer, adjustments, physical, and history. So the issues and returns are used for tool room type cribs. Then the Purchasing module, which facilitates the purchasing and receiving of items. Here you will find the suppliers, purchase class, purchase orders, receiving module, regrinds, and serial. And then the Reports menu has the standard and automatic reports, where you can preview, export, email, or print any of our standard reports or custom reports. You can also schedule reports to email, export, or print automatically. And then the Tools menu has modules that allow you to complete administrative activities, change system-wide settings, add AutoCrib software logins, security users, and create groups. So if you want to look at any of these modules, for example, inventory items, you would just click on the Inventory menu, Items module, and then the first screen that you will see is just a grid with all the information. To view a more detailed information, you would have to select the item from the grid, and here you scroll down and you will see the Edit and Delete buttons. And additional menu selections will be presented here on the left-hand side under the Items module. So some of these additional menus that you will see here is the View Detail, and this just gives you detailed information on the item that you've selected. The Notes is where you can go in and enter free-form data or information relating to the item that you've selected. It is limited to 255 characters. So you would just type in your notes in here and click the Save button. The History menu options will give you a rolling 24-month usage. So in this particular database, we only have usage for the month of June. So this is what we'll see here. And then the last 12 months, or the most recent 12 months usage, will be here. And then the previous 12 months usage will be on the right side of the grid. The Issues menu option will display a list of perishable and durable items that have been issued out but not yet returned to the machine. And then the Transactions menu will just display all transactions that have occurred for the selected item. So you will also see throughout AutoCrib.net modules are these magnifying glass. The magnifying glass when you click on it, will typically bring up a lookup box with different data, and you can select your data from the lookup box using the magnifying glass icon. So when you see this magnifying glass next to the field, you just click on it and then make your selection from the grid. When you edit information, you will then see a Save button. Again, this will typically be located at the bottom of the screen. And this will allow you to save any changes that you've made to the module that you're in. And then up on the top right, you will see the search field. So most modules will have this search option, and it will just filter the view list based on the criteria that you type in the search field. And a lot of the times you will see a corresponding drop-down box that will allow you to further select your search results. So we're going to begin by adding suppliers first. You always need to have at least one supplier in your system in order to be able to add items. So to add suppliers, we would just navigate to the Purchasing module, click on Suppliers, and on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see the Add New Supplier button. So you click Add New Supplier, and you will notice a little red asterisks next to all of the required fields. So if you see a field that has a red asterisk next to it, that means that it must be populated before saving that information. So the supplier ID is a unique name or code that's assigned to the supplier. And then the name field would be the supplier's company name. Just a quick note regarding the supplier field. It does need to be a unique name or code. However, you have to make sure that you avoid any illegal characters in this field. So illegal characters would be anything other than the letters A through Z, lower and uppercase, 0 through 9, the numbers. You can use a space, and you can use a dash. Everything else is considered an illegal character and cannot be used in the supplier field. So again, anything other than the letters A through Z, lower and uppercase, are okay. Numbers 0 through 9 are okay. Space is okay, and dash is okay. But the @ sign or the asterisk or star, exclamation mark, any of those are considered illegal characters and are not allowed to be used in the supplier field. So once you put in your supplier code, the name, you can go ahead and fill out the address, the city, the state, and the zip code. If you want to receive automatic reports, or if you're setting up automatic reports, you would fill out the email field, and then you can configure the reports to send out to this email address that's in the email field. If you have automatic POs set up and you want the automatic PO to email the supplier, you would need to populate the PO email field. And if you are using the critical email function in AutoCrib, you would need to populate the critical email field so that it will email the supplier every hour when an item goes below a critical level. So once you set up the basics here, you can go ahead and click the Save button at the bottom of the screen, and this will save all of your information. So the next thing we're going to do is add a new item. So we're going to navigate to Inventory, and then I'm going to click on Items from the left module. And on the right-hand side, you will see the Add New Item button. I'm going to click the Add New Item button. And again, all the fields marked with a red asterisk are required fields. So for the item, you need to have at least the item code and a supplier. So again, the item code is a unique code that's assigned to the item. And again, you would need to avoid any illegal characters in the item field. Again, anything other than A to Z, lower and uppercase, numbers 0 through 9, space and dash are all okay. So once you type in your item code, you will then need to add a description. So we recommend that before entering a description for the item, ask the question how the employees might search for the item. So typically when the employees are at the machine, at the RoboCrib, and they need to issue out an item, they would typically search by the description. So the description, we recommend that it is written from most generic to most specific and provide detailed information about the item. And it should start with a word that describes the item. So the item that we will enter in today is a drill. So I'm going to type in the word drill, and it's a 23/64. JBR and HSS. You can also add a description to, and again, the users can use the description to field to search for the items in the machine. So here you can provide additional information about the item. Next, you would need to select an item type. You will notice that by default, it is set to an expendable type item. So let's go over the different item types. So the expendable item is an item that is consumed in the process and is never returned to the machine. Some examples are inserts, sandpaper, and other low-cost items. Perishable type item will be used, and a decision to either return to stock, send to rework, or scrap the item will be made when it's returned to the machine. Such examples would be end mills, large drill bits, and medium cost items. A durable item will be used again, and it is always expected to be returned to the machine due to a long useful life. Some examples are power hand tools and fixtures. The kit item type, you can assign it to an item code that represents 2 or more items. We have 2 types of items. So if you select kit, you can either check the physical kit checkbox to create a physical kit, or uncheck this box and leave it blank for a virtual kit. So physical kit items are usually bundled together, and issue out as one unit. The virtual kit items are issued from multiple bins, so each item is located in a different bin. And when the user goes to issue out the virtual kit, they do not need to issue out every item separately. The machine will automatically go from one bin to the next to complete the virtual kit. And then the next item type is gauge, and it is used for sophisticated calibration tracking by serial number. So typically, serial information will be assigned to the gauges in the serials and gauges module. And then the last item type is the key. And you would store a key in a RoboCrib to unlock a secondary device, such as a locker cabinet or tool room or just a regular cabinet. And you can use that key to issue out from this external crib. And the items are tracked in the external crib through the key item function. So when you go to issue an item from the RoboCrib, you're going to select the item that's in the cabinet, not the key. You select the item that's in the external crib, and then the RoboCrib will dispense the key item. And that way you can keep track of all the items that are in that external crib, which is the locker cabinet or the tool room. So our item today is an expendable type item. And next, we would need to select our supplier. So again, you will not be able to type in this field. If you try to type in it, it will pull up a lookup box. So you can click the magnifying glass next to that field and then select your supplier from the lookup box. The next field here is the order quantity, which works with the purchasing module, and this will indicate how many of the item is purchased every time that it is ordered. So this is used if an item is bought in multiples. So you would enter the order quantity in this field, and then when you create your purchase order, you have to remember to check the use order quantity checkbox for the PO or purchase order to look at this order quantity field. So the default is 1. And then you have the unit price field, and this would be the price that the end user or customer pays for the item. The next field is the issue cost, and this is the item's cost per issue. So again, this is the customer's cost. Typically, it would be the same as the unit price. And then the unit cost is the cost that the supplier pays for the item. So typically, we will leave this item or this field with a default and leave it at 0. And then there are several different checkboxes here at the bottom. I wanted to show you the reference item field. So if you have an item in the machine, a new item, and then you have a regrind item, and you want the user to issue out the regrind item first, you can use the reference item field, and this, so when they select this item here on the top, it will issue out the reference item first before it issues out this new item. So that's the reference item field. And then there's a reference different package quantity checkbox. So when you check this, if the referenced item is packed in a different package quantity than the primary item, it will be used when the primary item is out of stock. So if this is not checked, the package quantities for both the new item and the regrind item would have to be the same, unless you check this reference different package quantity checkbox. And then you can also upload images to your items. And you would do that just by double-clicking here on the image, no image available box. If you just double-click there and then browse to the file that you would like to upload. And the recommended image size is 1200 by 900. And the format can be either JPEG or bitmap. So you would just navigate to the location of your image and click the Open button and then click on Upload. And make sure that you can see the preview of the image, and it will say File has been saved in database. Then you can just close this pop-up box, and after you click the Save button, the image will appear in here. So once we've completed entering all of our information, we're just going to click the Save button at the bottom. So now if I go back to that same item, I should see it here with the image, and this is the image that will show up on the machine as well when searching for the item. So next we are going to go through adding employees to our database. So to add a new employee, we're going to click on the database module and or the database menu, and then click on the employees module. And again, the add button is going to be all the way to the right. I'm going to click on add new employee. And again, the fields with the red asterisks are required fields. And again, the employee field is a unique number that's assigned to the employee. And again, we want to avoid any illegal characters in this field. So this is the employee field. Next, you have the first name field and the last name field. And the badge number. And the badge number is the unique number for each employee. And this is the number that is used to log into the AutoCrib machines. And oftentimes, this will be the same as the employee number, but it does not have to be the same. If you are utilizing the pin prompt function, this is where you would enter the employee's personal PIN number. In order to use this function, you would need to have the pin prompt check box enabled in the Tools, Options, and Default settings. So next is the department field, and this is an optional field. If a department is assigned to an employee, the department will be associated to the employee's transactions in the database. So you can either leave it blank, or if you have departments in your database, you can go ahead and assign a department to that employee. Once they log into the machine to issue out an item, they will be defaulted to this department. If you want to give them the ability to change the department when they're issuing out the item, they will be able to do so unless you check the lock department checkbox. So if you don't want them to be able to change departments when they issue out of the machine, just check on the lock department checkbox. And just as a reminder, the department is assigned to the employee, but you still need to enable the department prompt in the for each crib. So you will have to enable that checkbox for each crib. So down below, you will notice that we have different checkboxes here. The active, so this will indicate that this is an active employee. If they are no longer active, you just uncheck that box and they will not be able to log into the machine. And the cost limit field here is a monthly dollar allowance for the employee. So when the costs incurred by the employee are over the cost limit and he is not set up as a supervisor, he will not be able to issue items out of the machine. And again, the access controls need to be enabled in order to enforce this cost limit. So we have different employee user levels. The standard user level is the default. They will have access to the issue button, the kit issue, the return, and locate and adjustment at the machine. So here is a slide of what the software will look like for a standard level user. So they will have access to the issue button, kit issue, return, locate, and adjust. Now, if the employee is set up as a stalker, so if I check the stalker checkbox here, they will also have access to stalk and physical and maintain functions at the machine. So they would, when they log into the machine, they will have access to all these buttons: issue, return, locate, adjust, physical, stock, and maintain. And then if I check the supervisor checkbox here, it also adds the access to the console function, as well as they will be able to override all access controls. So supervisors have access to all the functions at the machine, and they override all access controls, which includes budget limits. So when they log into the machine, this is what they will have access to, which is everything: issue, return, locate, adjust, physical, stock, maintain, and console. So if you wish to not allow users access to certain buttons, all you have to do is uncheck those buttons here on the employee screen and or check them on to give them access to those buttons. So once you're done entering in all your information, you just click on the Save button, and this will save your new employee to the database. So next we're going to take a look at how to assign items to RoboCrib bins. So to assign items to RoboCrib bins, we are going to click on the Cribs menu bar and then click on the Bins module. So here I have a RoboCrib 1000, which is Crib 01. And on the right-hand side, I have a grid displaying all the bin numbers that are created on this RoboCrib. The item column will tell me whether there's currently an item assigned to that bin, or if it is blank, that means that there is no item assigned to that bin. And on the right, all the way on the right side of the grid is the bin size. So if I want to assign an item from the screen, I can just click on the select my bin number here, click on it, and then scroll down to the bottom, click the Edit button, and then select my item by clicking the magnifying glass here to select an item that I wish to assign to the bin. Or if the item is not currently in my database, I can click the item link here on the left, and I can just create a new item at this point using the same fields that we've previously seen on the inventory items module. So I can either create the item here or just use the magnifying glass to select an item from the database, an existing item. And then once I have completed assigning my item to the bin, I just click the Save button to save. And to go back to view the grid, I can click on View Detail here from the left, or sorry, Show All. And this will take me back to my grid, and here I can see that I've successfully assigned my item to a bin. I can also assign an item to a bin using the RoboView by clicking the RoboView button on the top right corner of the screen. So the RoboView will show me the different levels here on the left-hand side. So it starts at the bottom with level 01, which is door 01, all the way up to door 15. So I can click on each one of these levels to view the different stacks. So if I click on level 1, you will notice that some of my stacks are colored in and some are not. So if there are no colors on my stack, that means that there are no items assigned to that stack. So if I click on the stack, I can see that I have third pies here on level 1. So I have 3 bins, third pie size, and no items assigned to them. The yellow indicates that that level is partially assigned. So if I click on stack 11, and I'm still on level 01, I can see that I have 12 bin here. There are 12 pies each, and I do have some available bins on this level. And then if I click on stack 13, which is blue, this indicates that all the bins on this level are currently assigned or have items assigned to them. So if I want to assign a new item, first I'm going to select my level, then I'm going to select my stack, and I'm going to select an available bin and click on that bin number. Click on the Edit button at the bottom, and then use the magnifying glass next to my item field to select my item. Or I can again create a new item by clicking the item link and then click the Save button. So to go back to my RoboView, I can click here on the left-hand side where it says RoboView, and this will take me back where I can see all my stacks and the different levels. So if you wish to reassign an item to a bin, again, you would select your level and then select your stack, and then select the bin that you wish to reassign. And you will have to look at these 4 fields and make sure that they are all 0. So your on-hand quantity needs to be 0, burn quantity 0, issued quantity 0, and on order 0. So once you verify that all these fields are 0, you can go ahead and edit your item by clicking the Edit button, selecting the magnifying glass or creating a new item, selecting the new item, and then clicking the Save button. So before reassigning items, again, you need to make sure that there's no on-hand or burn quantities, there's no outstanding issues on that bin, meaning perishable or durable items that still need to be returned, and that this item is not on a purchase order. If it is, you can edit the purchase order, delete the line item for this bin. So this concludes our presentation for today. And I will go ahead and open the session to any questions that you may have. So you can go ahead and use the question tool to type in your questions. And we are going to post a copy of this webinar so that you can review it one more time, or as many times as you like, on the support portal. So I will give you a couple minutes to enter in your questions. And
it looks like we have one that's come in.
Okay.
They're asking if the force reference is checked off on the item, but not the employee, does the force reference on the item at the machine still work?
Okay, so if the reference is checked off on the item, but not the employee, let's take a quick look here. So I believe by default, the ref item for the employee is checked on. Let me just exit out of this. So if we go to databases, employees, and take a look here at this. Right, so it's checked on by default. So if you uncheck the force ref bin, I believe that it will not force it for that particular user. But I will test it out, and I will give you a definite answer. I'll post it up on the portal. But I do believe that if it is checked off, they will not be forced to issue out the, actually, wait a minute, sorry. This is the force reference bin, not the force reference item. So, this is a good question. So I believe, since it says bin and not item, that it will force them to use the reference. Oh, on the bin. Okay. So on the bin, I believe that if it is unchecked, they will be able to issue out the new item. But again, let me just test that out here, and I will email you a definite answer on whether or not it forces them or not. I'll get back to you on that one. I believe it should not force them again. Okay. So do we have any more questions here? Let's see.
One of the questions here is how do you access the dashboard? Dashboard does not come left side, just our customer's name.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. So if I log out and log back in, so the load dashboard link is not available, I assume is the question. I haven't seen that issue come up. So let me research that a little bit more and see if this will not, if there's instances where the dashboard will not load. So let me research that question, and I will email everyone also.
Another question is, if you delete a bin, does the history disappear when you reinsert the bin, or does the history come back for the bin, even if you leave the item field blank?
Okay, so if you delete the bin, well, let's see. So if I go to transaction history, let me just take a quick look at my transactions here. So I have, oh, that's not. So let's delete bin 1. Well, I would have to physical it first. 95 physical and 1. Cribs, bins, tools. So that's So it looks like when I deleted the bin, it did retain the transaction history for that bin. So I did delete bin 1 and then reinserted. And here are all my transactions for item 2, even though now I have a different item in that bin, which is the CMI. Yep, so it looks like it does retain the transaction history for that bin. Are there any other questions?
There's one more here. What if you assign an item to the wrong bin? How do you unassign that item and keep the bin empty?
Oh, okay. So you just want to keep the bin empty. So again, you will go to that bin under cribs and bins. And so let's say we assigned the wrong item here, item 1. I want the DMI item instead, or leave it blank. So I'm going to select this bin, click Edit. And first, again, I have to make sure that my on-hand quantity is 0, burn is 0, issued is 0, on order is 0. And once I verify all of these are 0, I can just highlight that item and delete it from the bin. Make sure not to click the delete button here to actually delete the entire bin. We just want to delete the item. So I'm just going to highlight it, click backspace on my keyboard to remove it, and then click save. So now I still have my bin, but I don't have any items assigned to it.
Great. And there's looks like there's one more.
Okay.
If you add a note, where does the note appear?
So some of the notes will appear on some of the reports. So if we go to Report Standard, don't recall which specific reports will show the notes. But there are some. So let's see if there's anything here for the item, like the item master. Let's take a look at this report and see. Oh, I don't think that I've installed the Krister viewer on this laptop. So let me take a look and see which reports display the notes, and I will email you guys that answer. So I'll actually take a list of all the questions from today and email you all the answers as well. So let me take a look at that one and get back to you. Are there any other questions?
I am not seeing any other questions.
Okay. Okay, then again, I will go ahead and collect all your questions, and I will do some research, and then I will email the questions and answer list as well as post it on the forum so you can review it at any time. Again, a copy of the webinar will be posted on the portal as well. A lot of good questions today. Thank you again for joining us. And we will send out another email once we know the schedule for additional .NET webinar topics. Okay, so have a wonderful rest of the day, and thanks again for joining us. Bye.